So week one, we learnt about creative suits and mainly what they are, which is another name for someone who manages clients. We learnt about what makes a good suit and from the different perspectives of people in the industry. So looking at creatives, clients, and from the boss's perspective, and what makes them overall happy with a suit. So this can be getting involved, asking questions, their knowledge of the client, for example. We also looked at why clients break up with their agencies, and mainly it's because they aren't happy with their service or the quality of client care. So that's really important to keep in mind to keep relationships with clients. And we also got introduced to our major project and looking at organizations that we might want to use. So in week two, we looked at creative thinking, and it was a guest lecture from Jack Smith and John Dawson, who are from Mindshare, which is a media agency. And we looked at understanding technology and how that's used for marketing, and we looked at a lot of other techniques for creative thinking. Something that actually stuck with me that I used for our assessment is a technique for producing ideas, which I can put up on the screen. There was a process of number one, gathering raw materials, number two, looking for relationships between these materials, number three, incubating, which is letting the thoughts kind of sit for a bit, the eureka moment, which is finally coming up with the idea, and then sharing and refining. And this actually came from an idea that I had, which is um, share a break with a mate. So that's like the kind of campaign idea that we came up with, and I had that eureka moment and I shared it with the group. In week three, we started managing our project. So that's clearly identifying what our project is, so why we are doing this, and who is our client. So that's our clients being KitKat and Beyond Blue. We have come to the conclusion of, and we also looked at deliverable spreadsheets and project summary statements and starting these for our project, which have been really interesting. In class, we also did some smart objectives, and I'll actually share one that we came up with. So we're thinking of one of our smart objectives to be to understand our youthful target audience, to create a survey, which will question where they spend most of their time, so we can find out where we can actually target this audience and communicate to them.
Week 4 was a really important part of our learning experience for the project, as it pretty much guided us for the project statement, as it told us all about the risks, constraints, and assumptions that we need to implement and that we could possibly be influenced by, along with giving us a layout for, risk, likelihood, and impact. So what we pretty much did is we all just got together, had a nice chat, and went through all the lectures together and broke down different parts we'd need. So it gave us different kind of insight having everyone there going through it, and it was definitely one of the highlights and extremely beneficial that all of us were together, working together, and those four minds coming together to be able to just smash out the part of the assessment and have it to a quality that we're happy with. Week 5 was a really good and productive week for us. We classified into two different things: Stephen Covey's time management matrix and WHIP. So first cover Stephen Covey's time management matrix. So pretty much what we did with this is we got all four quadrants, got together and just had a nice chat and put every little bit of the assessment, including procrastination parts, into the table, and say Q1 is going to be what was due this week, and Q2 is going to be what's due in a couple of weeks. So we, worked on that time management matrix together and got it done so we can work a lot more efficiency together and work better as a team. The second thing is the work in progress sheets. So pretty much the work in projects sheets were really good for us, as it's not only part of the assessment, but it helps you organize and structure how you're going to work and how things are going to get done. We've been using them fairly regularly throughout meetings. We've been updating. We've been meeting at least once a week, working on these documents and obviously working on other things. But just being able to have a nice hard copy of what everyone needs to do, the exact times, is perfect and has really helped us structure how we're working and our overall timeline. Week 6 for us had really heavy emphasis and focus on working together and just developing how we work together. So, what we covered is blending and redirecting as a main topic throughout the week, and just identifying hard personality types to work with. And we pretty much just kind of discussed together how everyone can be a bit of each type. So, someone can be a tank, someone can be a creative, you know, everyone has their bad parts and good parts, but you got to come together and use your best parts to get the best parts of work. So what we did is pretty much just had a nice chat and got everything out about, that we may not be the best at, and worked on, all right, say I am not the best at referencing. Let's have Mia do it. Let's have Chris do it. Let's have Bart do it. And just different ways of just building how we work as a team was just a core part of this week, and using the theories and practice that we learned throughout the week to work together and act as a way of team building.
In this week's Week 7 lecture, they looked at being proactive. Now, being proactive was something that could extremely help us in this week's project. And this is because as 4 individuals, we all have our own responsibilities to meet on top of this project. I mean, we all got different subjects, different assignments, and they all eventually going to pile up. And in order to avoid that, we need to be proactive and set out a plan so everything moves smoothly. Now, one of the great tips given to us in this Week 7 lecture was Pareto's 80-20 rule. Now, this rule states that 80% of the results come from 20% of the work you do. And as a group, we took that and we wanted to look at what was the most important task, these 20% of tasks which would garner 80% of the result. So we looked at that, and we are now moving ahead on focusing on those 20% as to opposed looking at the other tasks that are not that essential. So this week's lecture was extremely helpful. This week's Week 8 lecture was quite intriguing as it was a guest lecture about overcoming fears and challenges. Now, one of the key things I picked up from this lecture was that most fears developed due to people being afraid of the unknown. And this lecture had told us that in order to overcome these fears, people must first know what is expected, and secondly, develop a plan to overcome these fears. Now, this can be implemented in our group project as we have to do a pitch, and many people might be afraid of public speaking. So in order to overcome these, we must develop what we learned in this week's lecture. We need to know what is expected of us. We need to know what we need to talk about and what Miss is looking for within the pitch. And secondly, we must prepare to deliver what is expected. And should this all go well and everything be well planned, we shall not have any problems and we will overcome these fears. So that's why Week 8 lecture was quite exceptional.
As of week 10, we were working on the pitch, so this meant that we were finally going through everything we've done since week 1, making sure our pitch meets the brief and the big idea. They went hand in hand. So this meant that we had to go through everything again and make sure that our pitch matches everything we said from when we started the project. And we did have to make a few changes, but besides that, it went pretty fairly, I must say. Week 10 was a bit of a run through of everything we've done so far. This means that we had to go back to the beginning and make sure that our pitch will be what was discussed from the brief. So we had to go back as far as week 1 just to make sure everything we did and we talked about matches the brief. Looking at the video we did in week 10 about the pitch, and we saw that one company was unable to fully understand despite getting their contract. We didn't want to make the same mistakes, so we looked at this as a learning opportunity, and we went back and made sure that everything we discussed from the beginning matches our pitch. And it was a really fun experience, if I may say. So it was a bit challenging, but it was worth it at this point.